You going to come and lead services with us? Maybe? All right. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We're going to light candles together, and then our family center friends are going to go up to dinner.
So,
all right.
Susan Carlson is going to light candles. If you'd like to follow in the prayer book, it's on page 2. We're still lighting a candle, an extra candle for the hostages who are still away. Just light it, just don't burn yourself. That's what I'm saying. Page 2. Do you want him to sing it, or do you want to?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's fine. I would light these two first. You know it.
Yes.
Who's done? Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Do you have a song? Do you have a song crafter? Shabbat Shalom. We'll sing Bim Bam together, and then we'll continue in 2 different places.
So yes, Family Center families, you're going to follow, Shabbat with you families, you're going to follow Ellie upstairs to the multi-purpose room for dinner. And I think we have some fun fried food for Hanukkah. Let's do Bim Bam. Hang on, let's do it here. Bim Bam, Bim 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 Bam, Bim 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 Bam, Cherry Berry Berry Bim Bam, Bim 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 Bam, Bim 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 Bam. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, hey Shabbat Shalom, hey Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, hey Shabbat Shalom, hey Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, hey Shabbat Shalom, hey Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, hey Shabbat Shalom, hey Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. One more time, Bim Bam, Bim Bam, Bim 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 Bam, Bim 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 Bam, Cherry Berry Berry Bim Bam, Bim 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 Bam, Bim 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 Bam. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom to all of
Shabbat
our
with you if you
young
want to follow
friends.
Morat Ellie.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you. See you soon. Shabbat Shalom. Bye. Shabbat Shalom. Feel free to fill up these seats. Come in close. Don't be shy. There we go, bud. All right. Rock out.
We will continue on page 12, welcoming Shabbat with Lechuna Ranana on page 12, top of page 12.
This is a new setting that we thought we'd introduce this evening. Lechuna Ranana l'Adonai. Lechuna Ranana l'Adonai. Nariya letzon yeshenu nekadma fanav betoda. Nariya letzon yeshenu nekadma fanav betoda. Bezmirot nariya lo. One more time, lechuna rana. Lechuna ranena la רצון ישנו לקדמה פניו בתודה נריע רצון ישנו לקדמה פניו בתודה בזמירות נריע לו last time לכו נרננה לכו נרננה
Continuing on page 16, Zamru Ladonai, it's at the top of the page in the middle of Psalm 98. So Zamru Ladonai B'chinor.
זמרו לאדוני בכינור, בכינור וכל זמרה, בחצוצרות וכל שופר, הריעו לפני המלך אדוני, ירם הים ומלואו, תבל ויושבי בר, נהרות עמך וכף יחד הרים ירננו לפני אדוני קיווה לשפוט הארץ תשפוט תבל בצדק ועמים במישרים ירם הים ומלואו תבל ויושבי בר נהרות עמך וכף יחד הרים ירננו.
Turning now to page 24, Shalom Alechem, welcoming the Shabbat messengers of peace. It's always appropriate to welcome in Shabbat messengers of peace tonight. It seems like maybe we need a few extra messengers of peace.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hasharet, Malachi Elyon, Mimelech Malchi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem L'Shalom, Malachi Shalom, Malachi Elyon, Mimelech Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruchuni L'Shalom, Malachi Shalom, Malachi Baruch Hu, tzedchem l'shalom, malachi hashalom, malachi elyon, mimelech malachi hamlachim, hakadosh Baruch Hu.
And on page 20, turn back a couple pages for Lecha Dodi. We welcome in the Shabbat presence. We sing together paragraphs 1, 2, 5, and 9. When we get to 9, where it says, welcome, enter in peace, welcome. It says bride. We like to think of it maybe as a more expansive notion, the Shabbat presence. And we rise to welcome the Shabbat presence through this door. So we just rise and turn that way.
לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה. מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי. אורי, אורי, שדברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בעליו, גם בשמחה ובצהלה. תוך אמונך עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Please don't sit. Please take a moment to wish someone Shabbat Shalom. Maybe introduce yourself to someone that you've not seen before or not in a long time. Good. We're going to turn to Psalm 22, which is, page 22, which is Psalm 92, Psalm for Shabbat. It begins in the third line, Tov Lahodot.
להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון טוב להודות לאדוני טוב להודות לאדוני טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון טוב להודות לאדוני להגיד בבוקר חסדך להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות באמונתך בלילות טוב להודות לאדוני להגיד בבוקר חסדך להגיד בבוקר חסדך באמונתך בלילות באמונתך בלילות טוב להודות לאדוני.
On page 26, Chetzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה ועלמא דברה חירותה וימליך מלכותה בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקדשם ברכו לאלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן מעלמה ממרו
Please rise as you're able for Baruch, page 28.
Yai dai dai yai dai 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 yai dai dai yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai dai yai dai 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 et Adonai hamevorach Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam va'ed Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam va'ed Yadai dai yadai dai 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 Yadai dai yadai dai 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 Yadai dai 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 Yadai dai yadai dai dai dai
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim b'chochma potech sha'arim uvitvuna mishana itim mechalif et hazmanim umisader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem b'rakia kertzono b'rei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or.
מביא יום ומביא לילה, מבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים. תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב, הרבים.
On the next page. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai, our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we'll meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever.
כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, והם נגע יומם ולילה, ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
You may be seated. Continuing on page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת.
On page 39. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. On page 40, Michamocha.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זרי אנו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ונאמר כי פרעה אדוני אל יעקב וגלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Hanukkah must be coming. Right? Because we hear that melody and next week, next Friday night. Page 43, the top of the page. We read together. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts. May I lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will.
Baruch atah Adonai hapores sukat shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo. Ve'al Yerushalayim shalom. Ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo. Ve'al Yerushalayim shalom. Baruch atah Adonai hapores sukat shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael.
We turn to page 253 for Misha Berach. Take a moment to think of ourselves, have an opportunity to ask for the courage, whatever it is, whatever it takes to help us make our lives a blessing. Have a moment to think about that. As we sing together the first paragraph, and then we take a pause to share the names of the people in our family, our friends, our community who are in need of healing. And then we'll invite you to add names to that list. And even after we have that very long list, we recognize that there's so many others throughout the world who are in need of healing tonight, healing of body and spirit. We don't know their names, but we reach out to them with our hearts. And then we'll sing that second paragraph together, asking for healing of spirit and healing of body. So we begin with the first paragraph on page 253 in the middle of the page.
Sheberach avotenu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
We hold in our hearts for healing Mary Ann Aronson, Julie Arnheim, Alma Avraham. She's the one who was released from the hostage, from being a hostage, and was in the hospital and was doing not well, but all reports say she's looking better every day. Peggy Boone, Alex Botkin, Hinda Sarah Bat Chana Pearl, Jerry Chesson, Sarah Bat Chana, Rabbi Sion David, Arnold Davis, Barbara Davis, Joanne Mandel DeWitt, Melissa Fisher, Amanda Goldstein, Kate Can, Daniel Harrison, Naum Kaplan, Al Camper, Audrey Lazar, Tony Linder, Sally Littman, Susan Lothar, Laura Marshak, Agnes McCauley, Hal Mendlowitz, Yermatia Shulamit Bat Miriam Baruch, Beatrice Jean Morrison, Roberta Needleman, Ellen Newberg, Marcia Netzer, Stefan Patterson, Lev Podorovsky, Susan Rosen, Charles Rosenblum, Oliver Scheibel, Steve Schimmel, Benjamin Siegel, Myron Sherman, Toby Shimkin, Bill Stein, David Wallach, Jonathan Wind, Ralph Wise, Kayla Wright. Any other names to Misha Barach?
Terry Sturrock. Kevin Shoemaker.
Sherry Tucker Blackwood's.
Susan Goldman.
We continue with the second paragraph of Misha Barach.
Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We flip back to page 44 and remind ourselves that it's Shabbat. 44, V'shamru.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
We turn now to the Tefillah. It begins with the opening meditation on page 46. We will be chanting, or beginning together, and then everyone have an opportunity to continue with the Tefillah on their own, either reading the right side of the page, the left side of the page, or following the direction of your own heart. Actually, you can stand up, you can sit down. It's kind of a find your own adventure. Page begins with page 46, and we'll conclude the Tefillah with Shalom Rav, prayer for big peace, on page 60.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. lost a real giant of the cantorial tradition, Cantor Charles Davidson, an incredible composer, an amazing cantor, and literally wrote the book on the Ashkenaz cantorial tradition. He really made such an incredible contribution to the legacy of cantorial music and chazunut, and so we wanted to honor him by singing his setting of Shalom Rav by Charles Davidson. Page 60. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Ki Atahu Melech, Adon lechol hashalom, ki atahu melech, Adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha, tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha, tasim leolam. Vetov b'einecha, levarech et amcha Yisrael, bechol et ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום, שלום. Shabbat Shalom.
So, just so anatomy of this building, apparently we're right on top of the boiler. You are. Which I really don't need. Anyway, I want to share with you a teaching that I learned this week. It's from a TED Talk. And it's from a TED Talk by a writer called Chimamanda Ngozi, and I'm going to try this again. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Have you heard of her? So she's a Nigerian writer, and she wrote in 2014, she gave a TED Talk called The Danger of a Single Story. So it's really a powerful TED Talk. It's only like 19 minutes long. I highly recommend it. She talks about the importance of finding and telling more than one single story about a person or a people or a culture. So she begins her TED Talk by talking about her experience when she only knew one single story about someone. So this is what she wrote. I come from a conventional middle-class Nigerian family. My father was a professor. My mother was an administrator. And so we had, as was the norm, live-in domestic help, who would often come from nearby rural villages. So the year I turned 8, we got a new houseboy. His name was Fide. The only thing my mother told us about him was that his family was very poor. My mother sent yams and rice and her old clothes to his family. And when I didn't finish my dinner, my mother would say, "Finish your food, don't you know? People like Fide's family have nothing." So I felt enormous pity for Fide's family. Then one Saturday we went to his village to visit, and his mother showed us a beautifully patterned basket made of dyed raffia, that his brother had made. I was startled. It had not occurred to me that anyone in his family could actually make something. All I'd heard about them was how poor they were. So it had become impossible for me to see them as anything but poor. Their poverty was my single story of that. And then she goes on to talk about her experience with someone else having a single story about her. Years later, I thought about this when I left Nigeria to go to university in the United States. I was 19. My American roommate was shocked by me. She asked where I had learned to speak English so well, and was confused when I said that Nigeria happened to have English as its official language. She asked if she could listen to what she called my tribal music, and was consequently very disappointed when I produced my tape of Mariah Carey. She assumed that I didn't know how to use a stove. But this author, Adichie, really understood her roommate's perspective, and this is what she said about that. What struck me was this: she had felt sorry for me even before she saw me. Her default position toward me as an African was a kind of patronizing, well-meaning pity. My roommate had a single story of Africa, a single story of catastrophe. In this single story, there was no possibility of Africans being similar to her in any way, no possibility of feelings more complex than pity, no possibility of a connection as human equals. So this TED Talk is especially interesting. I think it's really interesting on its own, but I think it's especially interesting because of how it can connect to this week's Torah reading. It relates particularly to a single story that we have about one of the characters in this week's Torah portion, Esau. So I'm going to read to you this line, Genesis chapter 30, verse 4, which describes the meeting after 20 years of twins Jacob and Esau. So you just to rewind, just to rewind a second. Last week in our Torah portion, Jacob and Esau were born, and immediately there was a struggle for power and for the love of parents and the blessing of parents. And Esau, who was the older son, sold his birthright to Jacob, and then Jacob tricked their father into a blessing. And at the very end of the portion, Esau was so angry that there was no blessing for him. He was so angry that his brother had manipulated him out of all these things that he threatened to kill him. And so Jacob ran away. And so now this week we have well, that actually happened, yes, then he ran away. And now this week we have when he's about to face his brother Esau again after 20 years of who knows what, right? You have no contact with someone, you don't know what it is. The last time you saw someone, you were afraid they were going to kill you, and that person comes to 400 men, and you don't know what those men were there for. Okay, so that's setting up the story. So Esau ran to greet Jacob. He embraced Jacob, and falling on his neck, he kissed him, and they wept. So if you thought that was a good sign, that finally, after 20 years of estrangement, jealousy, fear, and acrimony, the brothers were finding a way back to one another, you might be surprised that the predominant teaching of the rabbis, the ancient rabbinic sages, starting about 2,000 years ago and onward, their interpretation of this was that Esau hated Jacob. How did they get there? There was a kiss, right? There was a kiss and a hug and tears. They got to Esau hated Jacob. How did they do that? Well, in the Torah scroll, on the top of the word for he kissed him, it's Vayisheku, sorry. He kissed him. There's dots on the top of the letters, which are very uncommon. I don't know if they appear. They might appear one other place. They're very uncommon. The only place it's very uncommon. The Torah scroll just has letters, right? But this has dots on top of that word, and so the rabbis go, well, what does that mean? What do these letters mean? And the most common interpretation was that it wasn't a kiss at all. It was in fact a bite. That Esau embraced Jacob and bit him. Out of hatred. But the hatred doesn't stop there. The rabbis have this one single story about Esau, that he hated Jacob, and they extended that far beyond the biblical brothers. So Esau came to represent, and maybe even embody, future oppressive rulers and nations. Rome, particularly. Jacob, of course, is Israel, his second name and the name of our people, right? So Esau hates Jacob becomes a shorthand for the experience of oppression of Jews by non-Jews. Have any of you ever heard that, Jacob hates Esau? No? As like a mantra, kind of? Have you? Stephanie, you have. I actually have not. But apparently it's a shorthand for the experience of our people, our ancestors in Eastern Europe, when they understood that they were going to be oppressed, that they were going to be living under leaders who hated them, that there was going to be oppression, that there was going to be persecution, and so their shorthand for that was Esau hates Jacob. So that became a single story. I should also say that Esau in the rabbinic literature is demonized. He's made into a despicable, dumb, cruel, all different kinds of characteristics, which actually don't show up in the portion at all. They don't show up about him in the portion at all. So what does this have to do with today? So I think that this interpretation, this one single story, has colored our collective understanding of our history and our current existence as Jews, for many Jews, not for all of us, but for many Jews, as well as our collective understanding of the history and existence of the state of Israel. In other words, it's very easy to see ourselves constantly as Jacob being hated by Esau. So tonight, at the end of the first day of war, post-pause, we might be asking ourselves that very question. Is this a one-story situation? Do we have one story to tell about ourselves and our neighbors? For example, I can't stop thinking about, and I'm sure that I'm not alone in this, about what we've learned about the hostages, their situation, how they were treated while they were in captivity. We can't stop thinking about the hostages who remain in Gaza, especially now that we know what happened. We can't stop thinking about the victims and survivors of the original massacre on October 7th and the unspeakable violence of Hamas. And we might be telling ourselves, this story is never going to end. This is the one single story that we have. We can't stop thinking about the devastation in Gaza, the hunger, the disease. We can't figure out if this is the only story. So this is why I, in particular, was so interested in this teaching about the one single story by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, because she tells us that there's always another story, that there has to be another story. And I'm taking great comfort in that. So I went searching for other stories, and I found one. 19th century German commentator Naphtali Tzvi Yehuda focuses on the last part of the verse. So remember I said that they fell on each other and there was this kiss, and then they wept, that part of it. So he focuses on the they wept part as opposed to the kiss/bite part. And his teaching is, at that moment, love for Esau awakened in Jacob. Love for Esau awakened in Jacob. And so, through the generations, whenever the descendants of Esau are roused by a pure spirit to recognize the descendants of Israel and their status, then we too are roused to recognize Esau, for he is our brother. So I'm going to read it again. That moment, love for Esau awakened in Jacob. It's both It's both. Jacob has had this same story about Esau for 20 years. The last time he saw him, Esau was going to kill him, right? He doesn't know what happened to him in 20 years. He doesn't know how he grew up or changed. He doesn't know that he has a family. He doesn't know anything about him. And Esau doesn't know anything about Jacob either. And so at that moment, love for Esau awakened in Jacob, and so on through the generations. Whenever the descendants of Esau are roused by a pure spirit to recognize the descendants of Israel and their status, then we too are roused to recognize Esau, for he is our brother. So the idea that those two men could recognize one another as brothers in that moment, I feel is very hopeful. It's not a perfect solution, because they go their separate ways. Right? They go their separate ways, but they go their separate ways without acrimony, without hatred. And it's very moving for them. So I am feeling a tiny bit more optimistic after having read this and really started to think about how we can have more than one story about any number of things in our lives, including this war, including all the parties involved in the war, and because Hanukkah is coming, and we have every night a tiny bit more light, which we create, by the way, because we light an additional candle every night, right? We're bringing more light into the world. And I feel like maybe we can be inspired to search for more stories and more positive stories about things that we think there's only one story about. So whether it's this war and the parties in the war, or whether it's a situation that you have in your families, whether it's a situation that you have in your responsibilities or at your work, maybe we can find a different story. There's not one single story for anything, I don't think. So I would just sort of add that, we call Hanukkah a miracle, but we like more and more light every night. We do that. Right? We bring more light into the world. It's not a miracle. We do that. And I would like to invite us to think about ways that we can find ways to find more than one story, maybe a little bit more every night until at the end we have bigger, more complex, more nuanced, more comprehensive, more fair stories about things that we think we only have one story about. Because there's always more than one story, there's always more than one way to understand, there is always more than one path to take. Continue now, Elena, page 282, please rise as you are. Robert W. Mandel, M. Charles Chuck Richbloom, and Arlene B. Roberts. We also remember those whose yahrzeit falls this week, those who died this season years past. Otto W. Abraham, Irving Blumberg, Jack Bondero, Irvin Brock, Clara Cowan, Mark Ehrenrich, Lawrence Feinert, Leslie Frank, Betsy Franklin, Simeon Friedberg, Ruth Bryn Glazer, Edward Goldberg, Sonia Goldsmith, Anne Frank Hochstetter, Charlotte Levy, Bernard Leff, Rhea Lehman, Dr. Reinhard Levy, Edward J. Lewis, Harry M. Lowenstein, Rhea M. Lubet, Barbara Mars, Dorothy Mates, Walter Reese, Sadie Siegel, James Philip Summers, Sylvia Shippey Schwartz. Other names for college tonight?
My father, Abe Littman.
Zikronam Livrachami, all their memories be for blessing. Yitgadal, Yitgadal, Shneiro, Yalmal, Yirah, Yireh, Yom V'chayidom, Yireh, V'chayidom, Yisrael, V'chalav, Yisrael, Yireh, Yehei, Rabba, Barak, Le'olam, Amen, Yitzrach, Yishlach, Yisrahar, Yitzrahar, Yinaseh, Yitetar, Yitzalel, Yitzalal, Shnei, Yusha, Leila, Yinko, Mirkata, Shirta, Chushkata, Adonai, Amira, Rabban, Yehei, Shema, Rabban, Yushaya, Chayim, Leila, Kol Yisrael, Amen. Oseh Shalom, Yirmah, Tuyah, Shalom, Aleinu, Kol Yisrael, Amen. In just a moment, we'll conclude our service with Kiddush and Motzi, and our closing song will be Oseh Shalom. Next week, on Friday night, from tonight, it will be the first night.
Thursday.
Second night. It'll be the second night of Hanukkah, and we will begin with candlelighting in Wexler Gallery with a beautiful Polish candle menorah, Chanukah. That'll be at 5:15, and then we'll go into the sanctuary for service where Rodef Shabbat will be singing, and we'll have latkes and donut holes. Hanukkah menorah. We'll have candles and matches if you don't have enough. And if you are watching on Zoom, there'll be a stream that service on Zoom. Candlelightings for all the nights will take place on Zoom, hosted from the homes of our members, clergy, and staff. Those will be at 5:30. That'll be from the first night into the last night. And so you can gather with other members of the congregation near and far, and light Hanukkah menorah, have a song, say hello to one another. So that's going to happen all the nights of Hanukkah. If you're interested in that, just please go to our website, where I'm sure we have a link to those events. Thank you to Luke. I don't know where he goes. You're still there. Thank you, Luke. He's wearing a black shirt and he's behind the lamp. So thank you to Luke for sound and light. Thank you for all of you for being here. Susan, thank you for lighting candles. And as always, it is our distinct privilege, Don and Cantor Glaser and I, to be with you in your services, to sing with you, to pray with you, and to aspire for peace, justice, and all those things. So we'll continue with Kiddush on, what did I tell you? Page 5.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei b'ri hagafel. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו ושבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחיל לנו זיכרון למעשה בראשית. 4-3.